Welcome back to our channel. Today we'll be diving into the extraordinary and tumultuous life of Hollywood legend Marilyn Monroe. From her humble beginnings as Norma Jean Mortensen, growing up in a life full of hardship, to becoming one of the most dazzling beauty icons in cinema history, her story is a complex journey of talent, pain, and shocking scandals. Let's get started as we uncover the stormy past, intimate relationships, and the mysterious circumstances surrounding the sudden departure of this timeless icon. Marilyn Monroe, born as Norma Jean Mortensen on June 1, 1926 in Los Angeles, California, entered the world under the shadow of hardship. Her father, identified on her birth certificate as Martin Edward Mortensen, was likely not her biological father, and his absence left a void in her life from the very beginning. Norma Jean's mother, Gladys Pearl Baker, worked as a film cutter at RKO Pictures but struggled with severe mental health issues, including schizophrenia. This made it impossible for her to provide the stability and care that Norma Jean desperately needed. By the time she was just a baby, her mother placed her in the care of foster parents Albert and Ida Bolender in Hawthorne, California. Although the Bolenders provided a measure of stability during Norma Jean's early years, her mother's sporadic presence in her life was a source of confusion and distress. Gladys attempted to reclaim custody of her daughter, but soon suffered a mental breakdown and was institutionalized. This marked the beginning of Norma Jean's turbulent journey through an unstable childhood. Norma Jean's life as a ward of the state saw her shuffled between orphanages and foster homes. She often felt like a burden, unwanted and unseen. These years were marked by emotional and physical abuse in some of the homes where she was placed. By the time she was 7 years old, she had already experienced more upheaval than most people endure in a lifetime. At one point, she lived in the Los Angeles Orphans Home Society, where she felt the weight of isolation even in a community setting. In a brief moment of respite, she was taken in by her mother's best friend, Grace McKee. Grace introduced Norma Jean to the world of movies and glamour, planting the seeds of dreams that would later shape her identity as Marilyn Monroe. However, this glimmer of hope was short-lived, as Grace's marriage led to circumstances that forced her to place Norma Jean back into foster care. By her teenage years, Norma Jean had lived in at least a dozen different homes and faced harsh realities that left indelible scars on her psyche. The constant instability and lack of consistent parental figures contributed to her feelings of unworthiness and insecurity, emotions that would haunt her throughout her life. At 16, desperate to escape the foster system, Norma Jean married James Dougherty, a neighbor 5 years her senior. While this marriage provided her with temporary stability, it was not built on love or companionship, but rather on survival. The pain of her childhood, marked by abandonment, neglect, and trauma, would remain a significant influence on her relationships, career, and identity as she transitioned into the legendary Marilyn Monroe. Marilyn often reflected on her early years with a sense of melancholy, revealing how deeply those experiences shaped her. She once said, "I knew I belonged to the public and to the world, not because I was talented or even beautiful, but because I had never belonged to anything or anyone else." This poignant statement encapsulates the profound loneliness that began in her childhood and followed her throughout her life. Marilyn Monroe's family life was also fraught with instability and heartbreak, starting from her earliest days. Born to Gladys Pearl Baker, a film cutter with her own set of dreams, Marilyn was thrust into a world of chaos. Gladys, who had already been through 2 failed marriages and had 2 children taken from her custody, was ill-prepared for the challenges of motherhood. Marilyn's father was never conclusively identified, though she often speculated about his identity. A man named Charles Stanley Gifford, is believed to have been her biological father, but he never played a role in her life. Gladys's mental health struggles, including bouts of schizophrenia, left her unable to care for her daughter. After Gladys's breakdown and subsequent institutionalization, young Marilyn became a ward of the state. While her mother occasionally attempted to reconnect, her presence was fleeting and inconsistent, leaving Marilyn to navigate the foster care system largely on her own. Marilyn spent much of her childhood being moved between foster homes and orphanages. One of her most significant early caretakers was Grace McKee, a close friend of her mother. Grace provided Marilyn with glimpses of affection and exposed her to the world of Hollywood glamour, which ignited Marilyn's fascination with film stars and a more glamorous life. Grace encouraged her to believe in her beauty and potential, telling her she could become like Jean Harlow, the iconic blonde bombshell of the time. However, Grace's support came with its own set of challenges. When Grace married Irwin Doc Goddard, Marilyn's life took another turn. Doc's inappropriate behavior created a toxic environment, leading to further trauma for Marilyn. Eventually, Grace placed her back into the foster care system, further deepening Marilyn's feelings of abandonment and mistrust. By the time she was 16, Marilyn faced the looming prospect of returning to an orphanage or continuing her tumultuous journey through foster care. In a bid to find stability, she married James Dougherty, a neighbor 5 years her senior. The marriage provided a brief respite from her uncertain life, but was not built on love or emotional connection. Dougherty later described Marilyn as a shy and insecure teenager who longed for security. During their marriage, Dougherty enlisted in the Merchant Marines and was often away, leaving Marilyn to fend for herself. While he hoped she would settle into the traditional role of a housewife, Marilyn had other aspirations. Her time alone led to a job at a factory where she was photographed by a U.S. Army photographer capturing women's contributions to the war effort. That chance encounter was a turning point in her life, setting her on the path to becoming a model and eventually a Hollywood star. With her family background in mind, let's step into her remarkable career, where her ambition and determination pushed her into the spotlight. Marilyn Monroe's journey from factory worker to Hollywood icon is one of resilience, transformation, and determination. While working at the Radioplane Munitions Factory during World War II, a chance encounter with Army photographer David Conover changed her life. He was capturing images of women contributing to the war effort, and Marilyn's natural charm and photogenic quality immediately stood out. This led her to pursue modeling, where she quickly gained attention for her unique blend of innocence and sensuality. By 1945, Marilyn was under contract with the Blue Book modeling agency in Los Angeles, where she quickly became one of their most sought-after models. Under the guidance of Emmeline Snively, the agency's director, Marilyn posed for advertisements, pin-up calendars, and a variety of magazine covers. Her natural charisma, radiant smile, and approachable beauty captured the public's imagination, resulting in a surge of modeling assignments. She reportedly dyed her hair a lighter shade of blonde to meet the industry's growing demand for the California girl look, which helped further boost her popularity. As Marilyn's modeling career flourished, her ambitions began to shift toward acting. She took acting classes to refine her skills and impress potential talent scouts. Recognizing her emerging star power, 20th Century Fox offered her a short-term contract in August 1946. This was a significant step forward for the aspiring actress, who had until then only dreamed of a Hollywood career. Under the recommendation of studio executive Ben Lyon, she adopted the stage name Marilyn Monroe. The first name, Marilyn, was inspired by Broadway star Marilyn Miller, while Monroe was derived from her mother's maiden name. In public, She was now officially introduced as Marilyn Monroe, although she did not legally change her name until 1956. During this early phase of her acting journey, Marilyn appeared in small or uncredited film roles, gradually gaining on-set experience and further honing her craft. Despite the brevity of her initial contract with 20th Century Fox, just 6 months, she made a lasting impression on casting directors and producers with her determination and magnetic screen presence. Despite her initial excitement about Hollywood, Marilyn's early career was filled with challenges. Her first few film appearances were minor roles in movies like The Asphalt Jungle, 1950, and All About Eve, 1950, where she garnered attention but not yet stardom. Determined to refine her craft, she worked tirelessly on her acting, studying under coaches and taking lessons to perfect her screen presence. Hollywood, however, was quick to pigeonhole her. With her platinum blonde hair and stunning looks, she was often cast in dumb blonde roles, such as in Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, 1953, and How to Marry a Millionaire, 1953. While these films catapulted her to fame, Marilyn grew frustrated with being typecast as a superficial comedic character. She longed to prove herself as a serious actress, but the industry was more interested in her marketable sex appeal. Marilyn's persistence began to pay off when she secured roles that allowed her to showcase her depth as an actress. In Niagara, 1953, she played a femme fatale, blending her sensuality with a darker, more complex character. This performance solidified her status as a leading lady. However, it was her work in Bus Stop, 1956, that marked a turning point. Marilyn played Cherie, a vulnerable yet determined saloon singer, earning critical praise for her emotional range and ability to portray nuance. In 1959, Marilyn starred in Some Like It Hot, a comedic masterpiece directed by Billy Wilder. Her portrayal of Sugar Cane, a singer with big dreams and a knack for trouble, remains one of her most iconic roles. The film was a massive success and earned her a Golden Globe for Best Actress in a Comedy or Musical. This role demonstrated her ability to balance comedy with heartfelt emotion, proving that she was far more than just a pretty face. Marilyn's dissatisfaction with being controlled by studio executives led her to take an unprecedented step in 1954. She walked out on her contract with 20th Century Fox. At the time, actors had little say in the types of roles they played or their career trajectories. Marilyn's decision to demand better pay and more creative control was groundbreaking. She co-founded Marilyn Monroe Productions in 1955, becoming one of the first women in Hollywood to establish her own production company. Through her company, she sought out roles that challenged stereotypes, such as The Prince and the Showgirl, 1957, where she co-starred with Laurence Olivier. Though the production process was fraught with tension, Marilyn's performance was lauded, showcasing her ability to hold her own alongside an acclaimed actor. Despite her professional triumphs, Marilyn's career was a constant battle against Hollywood's expectations and her own insecurities. The industry often valued her for her looks rather than her talent, a reality that left her feeling undervalued and misunderstood. She famously remarked, "Hollywood is a place where they'll pay you $1,000 for a kiss and 50 cents for your soul." As her professional life soared, it was also entangled with controversy. Let's now look at the scandals that surrounded Marilyn Monroe and how they influenced both her public image and her private world. Marilyn Monroe's life was often a whirlwind of controversy, with scandals becoming an inseparable part of her public image. These controversies, ranging from her romantic entanglements to professional struggles, overshadowed much of her talent and contributions, making her life a tabloid sensation. Even before her meteoric rise to fame, Marilyn faced scrutiny for her choices. In 1949, struggling to make ends meet, she posed nude for a calendar shoot, earning just $50. When these photos resurfaced during her rise to stardom in the early 1950s, the revelation threatened to tarnish her budding career. However, Marilyn took a bold approach, openly admitting to the photos and explaining her financial desperation at the time. Her honesty endeared her to the public and diffused much of the potential backlash, showcasing her resilience in the face of controversy. One of the most enduring and sensational scandals in Marilyn's life was her alleged relationships with President John F. Kennedy and his brother, Attorney General Robert Kennedy. Rumors of her affair with JFK began circulating in the early 1960s, fueled by whispers of secret meetings and her now iconic performance of Happy Birthday, Mr. President at Madison Square Garden in 1962. The sultry rendition, delivered in a skin-tight shimmering dress, was widely interpreted as a public declaration of their rumored connection. Speculation about her involvement with Robert Kennedy arose around the same time, with reports suggesting that she had confided in friends about her interactions with the Kennedys. These allegations painted Marilyn as a central figure in a web of political intrigue, adding fuel to conspiracy theories surrounding her untimely death. Despite the lack of concrete evidence, the rumors persisted, amplifying the public's fascination with her personal life. Marilyn's professional life was not free from scandal either. As one of the most photographed and discussed women of her time, she was often exploited by the Hollywood machine. Studio executives controlled her image, casting her in roles that emphasized her sex appeal while downplaying her intelligence and talent. This commodification left her feeling like a product rather than a person, a sentiment she voiced repeatedly. Her decision to walk off the set of The Girl in Pink Tights in 1954 was seen as a bold, scandalous move. Marilyn's demands for better pay and creative control were unprecedented for women in Hollywood at the time. This act of defiance painted her as difficult and demanding in the eyes of the media, but it also marked a pivotal moment in her fight for autonomy in an industry that sought to stifle her voice. Marilyn Monroe's romantic life was as complex and turbulent as her public persona. Her 3 marriages revealed her deep yearning for stability and love, yet each relationship was marked by profound challenges that reflected the pressures of her fame, and her emotional reflected the pressures of her fame and her emotional struggles. Marilyn's first marriage was born out of necessity rather than love. At the age of 16, she married James Dougherty, a 21-year-old neighbor, in 1942. This marriage was arranged partly to keep her out of the foster care system, which she was desperate to escape. Dougherty described Marilyn, then still Norma Jean, as a quiet and sweet girl who sought stability. For a time, their life together was peaceful. Dougherty worked as a police officer before enlisting in the Merchant Marines during World War II, while Marilyn took a job at a munitions factory. However, when Dougherty was deployed, Marilyn's life took a dramatic turn. Left to her own devices, she pursued modeling, and her career began to blossom. Dougherty, who envisioned a traditional life with Marilyn as a homemaker, was unprepared for the ambitious path she chose. Their marriage ended in 1946, shortly after Marilyn signed her first film contract with 20th Century Fox. Dougherty later remarked that her growing fame and desire for independence had made their union unsustainable. Marilyn's marriage to baseball legend Joe DiMaggio in 1954 was one of the most high-profile celebrity unions of its time. The pairing of America's sweetheart and the beloved sports icon captivated the public, who saw it as a perfect match. However, their relationship was far from idyllic. DiMaggio, known for his stoic and traditional demeanor, admired Marilyn's beauty and charm, but struggled with her independence and public image as a sex symbol. His jealousy and possessiveness became a major source of tension. The iconic moment when Marilyn's dress billowed over a subway grate during the filming of The 7-Year Itch became a flashpoint in their relationship. DiMaggio was reportedly furious over the public spectacle, feeling humiliated by her overt sexuality being displayed so openly. Their marriage lasted only 9 months, ending in a highly publicized divorce. The official reason cited was irreconcilable differences, but friends of the couple revealed that DiMaggio's controlling behavior and temper had made Marilyn feel trapped and unhappy. Despite their divorce, DiMaggio remained deeply connected to Marilyn. In the years following her death, he famously arranged for roses to be placed at her grave twice a week for over 20 years. Marilyn's third and final marriage was to playwright Arthur Miller in 1956. The relationship seemed to promise a deeper connection, as Miller appreciated Marilyn's intellect and was fascinated by the woman behind the glamorous facade. For Marilyn, Miller represented a chance to be valued for her mind rather than just her beauty. The couple's union, however, was fraught with challenges. Marilyn's insecurities and struggles with addiction clashed with Miller's intellectualism and reserved nature. Their differences became increasingly apparent, especially as Marilyn dealt with the pressures of her career and her yearning to start a family. During their marriage, Marilyn suffered multiple miscarriages, a devastating blow to her dream of motherhood. Her dependence on prescription drugs and her ongoing battle with mental health issues added strain to their relationship. Meanwhile, Miller's tendency to withdraw emotionally left Marilyn feeling unsupported. Beyond her 3 marriages, Marilyn Monroe's personal life was marked by a series of relationships with high-profile figures, further cementing her image as a Hollywood icon and a symbol of allure. However, beneath the glamorous exterior and countless admirers, Marilyn struggled with feelings of isolation and a longing for deep, genuine connections. One of the most infamous aspects of Marilyn's romantic life was her alleged involvement with President John F. Kennedy and his brother, Attorney General Robert F. Kennedy. Rumors of her affair with JFK began circulating in the early 1960s, reaching a fever pitch after her sultry performance of Happy Birthday, Mr. President at Madison Square Garden in May 1962. Wearing a skin-tight sequined gown, Marilyn's performance was both iconic and controversial, fueling speculation about the nature of their relationship. Reports suggest that their connection may have been brief but intense, with meetings arranged discreetly to avoid public attention. Similarly, her rumored ties to Robert Kennedy added another layer of intrigue. Some sources allege that Marilyn became entangled in the political ambitions and personal lives of the Kennedy brothers, which may have contributed to the conspiracy theories surrounding her untimely death. While concrete evidence remains elusive, the speculation has kept these relationships at the center of Marilyn's legacy. Marilyn was romantically linked to several of her Hollywood contemporaries, further amplifying her status as a symbol of desire. Among her most notable relationships was her rumored affair with Marlon Brando. The two reportedly shared a mutual respect and attraction, though their connection was never publicly confirmed. Another figure often associated with Marilyn was Frank Sinatra, the legendary singer and actor. Their relationship, which began in the late 1950s, was a mix of friendship and romance. Sinatra, who had his own share of high-profile relationships, was reportedly protective of Marilyn, offering her support during difficult times. However, their connection was complicated, with Sinatra's close ties to powerful figures adding another layer of scrutiny to their association. Even after their divorce, Joe DiMaggio remained one of the most significant figures in Marilyn's life. While their marriage was tumultuous, marked by jealousy and control, DiMaggio's feelings for Marilyn appeared to deepen after their separation. He was one of the few people who consistently stood by her during her struggles. In the final years of Marilyn's life, DiMaggio reportedly attempted to rekindle their relationship, hoping to provide her with the stability she had always craved. After her death, DiMaggio's grief was evident. He organized her funeral and famously arranged for roses to be delivered to her grave twice a week for over 20 years, a gesture that symbolized his enduring devotion to her memory. Marilyn also sought intellectual companionship, particularly with creative and artistic individuals. Her marriage to playwright Arthur Miller highlighted her desire to connect with someone who could see beyond her beauty and appreciate her intellect. While their relationship ultimately faltered, Marilyn's attraction to intellectuals and artists reflected her longing to be valued for her mind as well as her outward appearance. She was also rumored to have had a brief relationship with French actor Yves Montand during the filming of Let's Make Love, 1960. Their affair, though short-lived, added to the ongoing tabloid frenzy surrounding Marilyn's personal life. Despite her many relationships, Marilyn often expressed feelings of loneliness and being misunderstood. In her personal writings, she revealed a deep sense of longing for emotional intimacy and a fear of abandonment, stemming from her unstable childhood. Marilyn once confided, "I am trying to find myself as a person. Sometimes that's not easy to do." This vulnerability highlighted the contrast between her public image as a glamorous icon and her private struggles to find love and acceptance. Marilyn Monroe's death on August 5, 1962, remains one of Hollywood's most enduring mysteries, a tragic end to a life filled with brilliance and heartbreak. She was found lifeless in her Brentwood home in Los Angeles at the age of 36. Eunice Murray, her housekeeper, discovered her body at around 3 a.m. after noticing the bedroom light still on and receiving no response from Marilyn. Dr. Ralph Greenson, Marilyn's psychiatrist, arrived shortly after and broke into the room through a window. By the time he reached her, Marilyn was already gone. The official cause of death, as determined by the Los Angeles County coroner, was an overdose of barbiturates, specifically pentobarbital and chloral hydrate, which she had been prescribed for anxiety and insomnia. Her death was ruled a probable suicide, citing her history of emotional instability and prior overdoses. However, the days and weeks leading up to her death painted a picture of a woman in turmoil, struggling under the relentless pressures of fame, isolation, and her battle with mental health issues. In the months before her death, Marilyn faced mounting difficulties. She had been dismissed from the film Something's Got to Give due to her erratic behavior and frequent absences, which only heightened her feelings of rejection and inadequacy. Despite this, she had recently made amends with 20th Century Fox and was preparing to resume filming. She had also scheduled meetings for potential new projects, indicating that she was planning her professional comeback. This apparent optimism has led many to question whether she was in a state of mind to take her own life. Numerous inconsistencies in the circumstances surrounding Marilyn's death have fueled decades of speculation and conspiracy theories. Reports suggest that the scene in her bedroom may have been tampered with before police arrived. Items were allegedly moved, and the arrangement of pill bottles on her nightstand appeared staged. Additionally, there was no glass in the room, raising doubts about how she could have ingested such a large quantity of pills. Eunice Murray, the only other person in the house that night, provided conflicting statements about the events, adding to the suspicions. The possibility is that Marilyn's death was the result of an accidental overdose. Her reliance on prescription medication, often prescribed by multiple doctors, could have led to an unintended fatal combination. Critics have also pointed to the role of her physicians, particularly Dr. Greenson and Dr. Hyman Engelberg, suggesting that their mismanagement of her treatment may have contributed to her death. Marilyn's tragic end reflects the dark side of fame. While the public adored her as a glamorous icon, few understood the depth of her personal struggles. Her life was a paradox of immense success and profound loneliness. In her private writings, she often expressed feelings of being misunderstood and unloved, a stark contrast to her public image as Hollywood's brightest star. The circumstances of Marilyn's death remain shrouded in mystery, with no definitive answers to the questions that linger. Was it a deliberate act of despair, an accidental overdose, or something more sinister? Her passing marked the loss of a woman who yearned for love and stability, but was often consumed by the pressures of her extraordinary life. Despite the unresolved questions, Marilyn Monroe's legacy endures as both a cautionary tale and a celebration of her remarkable talent and enduring cultural impact. And that concludes our exploration of Marilyn Monroe's life, from her unstable childhood to her rise to stardom, through the storms of romance and her battle with mental health. Despite living in the spotlight and basking in public admiration, she always faced loneliness and invisible pressures. Ultimately, her untimely and mysterious passing left behind countless unanswered questions, cementing Marilyn as both a captivating and tragic symbol of Hollywood. Thank you for staying with us until the end. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit like and subscribe to the channel for more fascinating stories. See you next time.